What if I told you that all the things that give you anxiety are actually pointing you to your greatest strengths? Hey, it's EJ here, and in this video, I'm doing something a little bit different. Recently, I had the honor to speak at the Motion Plus Design Conference in New York City, and as being more of a tutorial person, I had to really think hard about what I wanted to talk about. And the one thing that I kept going back to was all the anxiety that I've been feeling lately, and that I'm sure we all have been feeling lately. And I wanted to share something that I realized, that the things that are giving you the anxieties can actually be the things that can turn into your greatest competitive advantages. Now, I wanted to give a huge shout out to the Motion Plus Design team for allowing us to share this footage with you. Hope you enjoy the talk. Without further ado, me.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Give it up for the organizer. I'm the last one tonight. Did you guys have fun tonight? Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Kook. Thank you, the whole Motion Plus Design team and all the amazing speakers so far. Now you're stuck with me at this last one here. Yeah, that's my name. This is maybe how you recognize me from like here on up in some tutorials. We have fun at School of Motion. We do things. Editors put stuff on my face and stuff like that. But yeah, I am creative director at School of Motion. Any School of Motion alumni in the house? Hell yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. But I'm so grateful to be able to be in the position I'm in. I wave my hands and talk to people all over the world, and it's like such a cool thing to be able to connect with people in person too. Like, we nerd out about this stuff online all the time in 3D and all this kind of stuff. You'll see amateur toy artists there as well, which we'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the joys of weight painting. A lot of people just don't really appreciate. No, we're not doing that. And if you're disappointed by that, you're an absolute sicko and you need help. But yeah, today, I'm used to doing tutorials, right? So I'm like pretty nervous right now because I don't have Cinema 4D here. I'm not doing anything, weight painting or anything like that. And I really had to think about like what I wanted to talk about. And I just did something that has been a dream of mine for a long time, like almost 15 years, and it was to create a vinyl toy of mine. And so I finally did it, and thank you so much. And along the way, though, you might wonder, like, why did it take you 15 years? What the hell? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because I've been getting crushed by anxiety. And I feel like there's three main ones. I feel like we're getting crushed by them constantly, depending on where you fall on the AI end of the spectrum and stuff like that, or just in general, like, there's a lot of stuff in the world going on right now, a lot of anxiety. But one thing that I found by going through this process of making a toy and like actually achieving something I've wanted to do for so long is that the anxiety that I was feeling was actually pointing to my strength. And I feel like the anxieties that we all feel are actually pointing to our strengths as well. And so I want to thread that needle through today. So I think there's three anxieties, whether it's skills, like our creativity or imposter syndrome, and then our purpose, like what the hell, what are we even doing anymore? And what are we doing here? I don't know. I just got here. So let's first talk about skills anxiety. So as someone who educates people, I'm at School of Motion. We teach a lot of people all over the world. This is one of the questions I get the most is like, what do I even learn now? Because there's just so many things. It can be very confusing. You used to get with Cinema 4D and After Effects, and you were solid. But now it's like, oh my God, there's all these things. Mario Paint, too. What? Who played with Mario Paint? Who's old enough to? Hell yeah, those are the OGs. That Fly Swatter game, so much fun. But yeah, like there's so many things, and it can be very overwhelming. Even for myself, like at School of Motion, I'm like, what course do we even make next, right? But the key thing here is that we have to keep in mind is that like I feel like we fail to realize the strength we already have. Like good design's good design, good composition, good storytelling is good storytelling. It doesn't matter what the tool is. The principles of art and design are always going to be consistent. So no matter what happens, whether you're in mid-journey or you're using Mario Paint, it all translates there, okay? So that's not to say that learning something new is easy. It's definitely hard. Anything worthwhile learning is probably going to be hard. And at School of Motion, like I said, we have to constantly be up on everything. I'm learning Blender, Substance Painter, Unreal Engine. And when I had to make my vinyl toy, I had to learn a lot of stuff too. So like I'm a 3D artist, but I'm not a toy designer. I didn't know 3D sculpting at the time. I wasn't even a good like character designer. I didn't know how to make a toy either. So there's a lot of things. There's a big gap for me to cross, but with any learning gap, it's not just one giant leap. It's a bunch of little steps that help you kind of bridge that gap. So what I feel like we do as artists, though, is we just totally defeat ourselves from the get-go. Like, if there's a big gap, if something a big goal that we have, we're like, okay, I need to learn 3D. I'm going to sit down with Cinema 4D and just burn myself out. I'm going to learn that it's hard, and then I'm just going to give up. This is too hard. I'm done. Right? And that's usually what we do. And we don't realize that like we need to kind of put perspective around like it's like running a marathon and thinking that you could get up, sign up for a marathon, and then run it the next day. Like you don't do that. This is how to not run a marathon. You sign up, attempt to run it the next day, and then you die, which is probably what you do, right? But somehow we apply that to other aspects of our life. So this is actually how you run a marathon. You sign up for a marathon, you show up every day, you do the things, you put in the work, you train over a period of time, and then you run a marathon, get an award, and bad shape, right? Because the key isn't the intensity, it's the consistency over time. Karate Kid's one of my favorite movies, and it's a great example of this. You're doing the wax on, wax off, the paint the fence, and you're like, what the hell am I doing? But then, at the end, he knows how to sweep the leg, right? And he didn't even know what he was learning. He was doing the boring things and doing them well. So one of the things I've learned through just kind of getting into the psychology of learning new things, and as a teacher, I feel like you would need to break things down into manageable chunks for people to learn them, is this is a great, the SMART goal thing is a way to break down a giant goal into little manageable chunks. And so this could be short or long term, big or small goal, but what you do is you want to break down a goal and you want to clearly define and detail the goal. You want to make sure that it's easy to determine if you achieve it or not, so you need to measure it. You need to actually make sure that it's something you can actually do if you put in the effort and consistency. It's got to align with your other goals, and it's got to have a client deadline, right? It's got to be time-based. That's why we have deadlines, right? So we can stick to things. And so for my example, I wanted to make my vinyl toy, but I didn't know 3D sculpting, so I'm like, let me pick up Nomad Sculpt or ZBrush, and I'm going to learn it for half an hour 3 times a week. So that's specific, it's measurable. And I'm going to do it for about 2 months, and then I'm going to make a prototype, and 2 months from now, have that in production. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to stop binging Netflix so dang much, right? So another thing that's been super helpful, like I lost like 30 pounds in the past like year, and so I've been like big about like what are some things to reduce friction too. So if you want to work out more, one thing I do is I have my workout clothes right near my bed and stuff, so you're reducing the friction of not even having to think about it. Eating healthier, same kind of thing, just have fresh fruit and stuff, not donuts, like really easy to grab. And then sketching more. This has actually been like a huge thing for me, is like I'll sit after working in my office all day, I'll sit on the couch, and I'll have my iPad just sitting there while I'm watching TV, and it's almost like my iPad's like, you should be being productive. And so I'll pick it up and I'll start sketching. I'll be like, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes, I'm going to start Nomad Sculpting or whatever, and the next thing you know, it's a half hour, an hour, I'm like getting into the groove and I'm having a lot of fun. So putting a negative habit near a positive habit. Okay. So we know how to learn new things. We'll go on to the next anxiety, which is creative anxiety, which is also imposter syndrome. We all know what this feels like. We doubt ourselves. We don't even deserve to have the things that we have, and like we don't know anything. So you've probably heard comparison as the thief of joy, but I actually think it's the thief of creativity. So I think we all do this. We wake up in the morning, pick up your phone, scroll your Instagram, all this badass work, all these badass artists. I'm feeling that, like, even here watching the artists that have been presenting before me, like, holy crap, like, these people are so good. And then you start to, like, doubt yourself, and you're like, I'm never gonna be as good as them. Especially on social media, where you just have access to the best people in the world. But the thing is that social media is crap. It is a distorted view of the world. And you gotta think about, you're curating it to your favorite stuff and the most badass artists. Like, you're probably not following the worst artists on the planet, and so they're not showing up on your feed, right? And this is something that, like, once you understand this, totally changes how you view things online. Like, Instagram is just everyone's best day, okay? You're not seeing their worst work. You're not seeing their struggles, because that's boring. Who would want to hear about that? So no one's posting their biggest failures, worst work. We're being stuck at an airport or everything. Everyone's on the best vacations, and everything went well. Unless they're complaining at a company online, then, you know. So actually, one thing about this that is interesting. Next time you find your artist that you're like, you love their work, if they're honest with themselves and they've been posting long enough, scroll all the way down. And it's super interesting because sometimes you're seeing years of progression. Like Patrick 4D, I was just talking with Andrew Kramer about Patrick 4D. How many people know Patrick 4D? Yeah. Awesome guy. He does food renders, and that's it, in like ZBrush. And like some of his renders were actually like pretty terrible at the beginning, but then you're like, oh wow, like, okay, so he was bad at once, and then he's better. He's actually really good. But one of the things that has really helped me is adopting a growth mindset, which tells us that, you know, where it changes this, like, I'm not very good at this, which is very self-defeating, to I'm not very good at this yet. Like, you're giving yourself a chance. Like, why would you be good at something when you never tried it before? So give yourself some slack, have some grace, and be like, you know what, I don't know this, but I'll learn it. I will learn it eventually. And at the end of the day, the only person you should compare yourself to is you from yesterday. Beeple makes an every day, right? And I remember talking to him, he's like, sometimes I make a shitty render, but who cares? Like, tomorrow I'll try again and see if I can get any better. And I feel like we should all be the same way, right? Every day is a new opportunity to win, and if not, try the next day to improve. And the only way to be good at something is to be bad at it first. I feel like we have this ego where it's like we expect ourselves to just be good at whatever we try, and that's absolutely not the case. Have you seen Andrew Kramer's first demo reel? Has anyone been? There he is. There's my boy. I remember you posted your first demo reel online. I don't know what the context of it was, but I'm sorry, it was awful. Like, it was terrible. It was worse than my first reel, and mine was really bad. But I can say that, but look at where he is now. Right there, watching me. But that's all to say is that you have to start somewhere. You got to get all the bad work out to get to the good work. So even if you're sketching, of course I sketch and I joke like I'm a terrible person at drawing. I was like, of course, I'd never draw. Like, I need to get better, and slowly I'm, getting better over time. And as someone that makes tutorials all the time, don't do this. Don't fall into the tutorial loop where you watch a video, feel super inspired, and then you do nothing about it. You make nothing. You're just like, you should actually see my saved YouTube videos. Like, I'm a hoarder of awesome YouTube tutorials. And like, sometimes you fall on a list. Thing is, watching does not equal doing. So be sure that if you want to learn golf, you don't watch a bunch of golf videos. You actually have to get your butt outside and do some golf, do the simulators, all that kind of thing. So improving comes from doing, not from consuming. And because this is easy, because you can't fail at watching a tutorial, so you just keep doing that. At least I don't think you can fail watching a tutorial. I guess, I don't know, you could slip on something. So I started doing tutorials in 2012. Look at this little baby face. Has no idea what's going to hit him when the world comes down on him. So I had no idea what I was doing when I first started doing tutorials. Fun fact, I did not get into tutorials to get into tutorials. I did it because I had to get better at public speaking. You can see I'm still improving, even right now. But I actually got invited by Maxon to speak at NAB in Vegas, and I said yes, even though I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And so I was like, you know what, I need to get better at public speaking. I got a D in public speaking class in college. Eat that, college professor that gave me the D, look at me now. I know, look at me. So that was one of the things I did. I was like, I need to get better. But again, I can't get better at this without actually doing it. So I fired up my really crappy webcam with awful lighting. Like there's some like light going on my face that's really weird. And like I got a light fixture from a fan right above my bald spot there. Like really terrible framing. You could see my very beginning of my toy collection. That's much, much bigger now. But it didn't matter. I needed to start somewhere, right? I didn't know I liked doing tutorials. I just knew I had to get better at public speaking and stop sucking at that. And so fumbling through the tutorial, saying a lot of ums and ahs, not even knowing if I was actually teaching right, I did it. I was awful. I was no Andrew Kramer back then, not even nearly as handsome as him either. But, you had to start somewhere, and eventually you kind of discover, you get in the zone, and you feel your style, and you get your voice, and you can only really do that by actually doing. So I had to improve. I couldn't get better at teaching without actually teaching. Couldn't get better at tutorials without making tutorials. So yeah, you can't find your voice or your style, whether you want to do videos or whether you want to create art, without making and creating and having that emerge from it. You find your style, and it emerges from actually doing, okay? So take the first step down that path. You have no idea where it will lead you. Like, I had no idea that 2012 tutorial would, lead me to here. It's crazy. So another thing that I think we fail to remember is failure is actually essential to success. And I think that's the people that are the most confident are the people that are okay with failure, and they just know that it's part of the process, right? Like, it's not that they don't fail, it's they do, but they know that even if they do it, it's gonna be fine. So I always thought, for the toy, I was never gonna be good enough to learn all the things I needed to learn to be able to do this. So I ended up just buying a bunch of toys. And instead of the tutorial loop, I went into the toy buying loop. And I made excuses because of fear. I was afraid of failing. If I make this, what if no one buys it? Why should I do this anyways? But you had to remember that actually, if I do fail, it's fine because I'm going to learn so much from it that I'll bring it to the next project, right? And have you ever seen this creative process cycle before? Because I think it's something we make fun of it, we're aware of it, but we forget it every single project. We go into this phase, okay, we got this new client project, it's gonna be awesome. You get into it and it's this is kind of getting hard, and it's anxiety, this is garbage, I'm garbage. Actually, this is kind of fine. And then you just do the whole, we experience this all the time, but we don't internalize it. And the more that we're comfortable with riding the emotions of no matter what we're working on, I think the more we can kind of get through. It's we all feel imposter syndrome, and I feel like we all have gotten through it. Ride that emotional wave and just let it wash through and know that you're going to be fine. So yeah, I followed all my advice and achieved all my goals with no issues. The end. So I did the thing. I made the toy, but I never put it out. I made the toy 2 years ago. I just put it on sale 2 months ago. So there was something else other than imposter syndrome, and that was purpose anxiety. What the hell am I even doing making a toy? So everyone's got a plan before they get punched until they get punched in the face. I think that's Mike Tyson thing. So I had multiple punches to the dome. So my purpose anxiety was amplified by turning 40, midlife crisis, anyone? So I was dealing with that, a lot of personal stuff too, wondering what I'm doing with my life. There's Blender that was becoming a thing, and I'm C4D guy. I'm but then everyone's using Blender, and do I need to learn Blender? Is all the things I've been learning been completely wrong? Am I totally doing everything wrong? I was in the I am garbage part of the creative cycle there. And this actually became a little bit more amplified when I had to deal with something pretty rough in my adult life, which this is Gus. He was my best friend, my little design assistant. He would be sitting next to I work from home. He'd be always snoring next to me. So actually in some tutorials you might actually hear him snoring. And he actually inspired the character Gus the Pug that would become the heart of like this little character that I wanted to like create and really had a lot of fun making. And unfortunately, 2 years ago, I had to say bye to the sweet little prince after 17 and a half years of him being in my life. So he lived like super long life, but that was like, I got him when I was like 24 and I was 40. And like so much shit changed in my life. Like I moved, got married, but he was the constant and suddenly he wasn't there anymore. Especially like when you work from home, like that's a huge, like when you have a dog to entertain you and you're like, your wife's not around and like you're talking to your dog and that's the only person you talk to all day. Like that was rough. So I was super, like grief hit me super hard. And again, I was dealing with a lot of other stuff in my life at the time. And this was just kind of like the capstone of crap on top of it, saying bye to Gus. But I just kind of went in a shell and stopped creating, stopped posting online. Like you'll probably see on my YouTube channel, there was like a big dip. And this was why, or part of the reason why. Like it just, passion kind of just left me too. But you know, time heals all wounds. And one of the things that really helped me was creating for myself. And I'm not a good emotional communicator. I'm not even a great communicator, as you can see. But sometimes grief involves emotions that feel impossible to put into words. And for me, I found that art was actually the alternative language that I needed to kind of get through that time. And I still use it to this day. Like if shit is ever going down, I ever feel anxious about anything, like start making shit. And actually, we've all heard of art therapy, right? Like I didn't know that this was actually what I was doing. So art therapy it works because art therapy activates the right hemisphere of our brain, which controls emotion and creativity. And it bypasses the left side of our hemisphere, which controls the language. So if you're terrible at like talking about whatever shit you're going through, creating through it actually bypasses needing to even think of the words to express yourself. So you can just express your emotions freely through art. And so that's why art therapy is so powerful. And that's one of the things that I kind of found out by kind of creating. And there's also a lot of research that links happiness to, or creating to better moods and happiness. And so, creating this character, I made a plushie as well. This was like very therapeutic to me because it was this, it's like meditative kind of thing, like even sculpting on the iPad and stuff, it was very meditative. One of the things that this did was it still gave me connection to, my little doggo and like kind of kept his memory alive. And now he's still this pug that like brings joy to a lot of people just in, maybe a sticker form or something like that. So just kind of keeping his memory alive. And one of the unexpected things that happened when I was doing art as therapy was remembering the one thing that I feel like I forgot in the fog of grief and all the other shit that was going on with like AI was just becoming a big thing like a couple years ago too. What was my why? Why the hell did I get in this field? Why did any of us try to get into art? I feel like we so easily forget that in the fog of whatever we're going through and experiencing. And some of the other speakers talked about this before too, where it's like we try to funnel, like if we're going through stuff, we want to express ourselves creatively, and we're butting up against a client project, and we're trying to express ourselves through this tiny hole that is a client project. Client's not hiring you to express your emotions. They want you to do what the fuck they say and promote their brand. They don't care what you're feeling and that you're getting it out in their Nike ad. They don't care. So don't take professional work personally. Make personal work, okay? So for me, doing all this stuff made me connect to my why, and my doubts about being afraid of failing was kind of emotionally loaded too, because it's like, if no one buys this, like that's like me failing my dog and his memory and stuff. So it was so emotionally charged. But once I remembered, like, why the hell did I do this in the first place? It had nothing to do with like going viral or anything. It was like I did it because I wanted to do this. It's been a dream of mine forever. I wanted to, immortalize my dog, and I did it because it made me happy, and I love creating it. And when you create out of love, you can't fail. Like when you do something because it makes you happy, at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is you're happy, right? So who gives a shit what other people think? And so once I kind of had peace with this, I doubled down and like, I'm making a second plushie now, and I got a 3D printer, and like have been really falling in love with like printing some of the characters that I make and started painting them, like very half-assed paint jobs at this point too. And I have these keychains and stickers and stuff. If anyone wants them, I'll give them out after the show. But yeah, I stopped second guessing myself, and I'm just doing all these other things. And one of the other things I've done as well is my wife has had a goal of always wanting to create her own children's book and write her own children's book. And so I've helped her kind of bring that to life. We hired an illustrator, and we're making Gus the Pug Wants a Hug children's book that's coming out hopefully in the fall. And it may or may not fail, but who gives a shit, because she's always wanted to make a children's book, and I've always wanted to make a plushie. And I want to do it for me because it makes me happy. Who cares, right? So one of the things I also kind of figured out by making physical things, I started out by doing stickers, and I got my pug gang all over the place, is I started connecting with other artists that make physical things. Aaron Martinez has his little Pato duck character, which is super cool. We did a toy trade. But it's so crazy when you give even a sticker, you're sharing a bit of yourself with someone else. I don't know if people have their own brand stickers and stuff. If you ever do this, it's such a cool thing you can kind of trade. If you go to Camp Mograph, they have the merch table. Everyone's got their stickers laid out. And that's a cool thing. It's like collecting every artist badge, And so that's one of the things that I kind of did was I underestimated the relationship that I can have with my own art and the relationship that others can have with your own art too. When I give these little 3D prints to people at NAB and stuff like that, or even the toys, they're just so stoked about it. And that's super cool. And so I went to Japan and Seoul in the middle of there. So I started out with doing stickers, and so I went to Seoul to speak at Korea University with Jonathan Wimbush, and this was just 2 months after I had to say goodbye to Gus. And I made these stickers of the little kind of toy that I made. And I just remember the last day I was in Seoul, Korea, in that top picture, I had stickers, and I was giving them to people, and I was just sitting there, and I was super down, I was super emotional. I went, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick this on this pole in this park in Seoul. And that's cool. A little bit of me and a little bit of Gus exists, hopefully still on that pole somewhere on the other side of the world. That's super cool, at least to me. And it's just as simple as a sticker. That's Hachiko in Tokyo. Got a photo with the little plushie. And then latte art. If you ever go to Tokyo, make a character or make a design, and they'll make your little latte art on top of your latte foam. Super cool. Expensive. Not the cheapest thing to do, but I recommend it. Also, if you go to Tokyo, go to the Pug Cafe, which once I found this existed, I was like, oh my God, I gotta go. Got mobbed by pugs. That's me and my wife wearing my pug shirts and pug hat. And so I had my stickers with me, and the owners, I gave a bunch of stuff to them, and they were so happy, and made some connections with the little Japanese that I knew. Went to South Africa and got a chance to go to a school there that we donated to, and I brought plushies along with me. And I'll never forget this little boy when I gave him the plushie, just gave the biggest hug, and it's just made my heart happy. And sorry, NFTs, you can't do that shit with an NFT. And you can't fucking do that with AI either, okay? So, no offense to AI. The robot overlords are listening. And the cool thing about this is that technology is advancing in a way where you can buy a 3D printer, you can make your stuff with only a few $100, and they're plug and play too. So it's super cool. I've talked to some people in this audience even about they got their 3D printers and they've just been having fun, and it's an addicting process. But through all this, I've kind of discovered that feeling powerless is just a feeling that, I have control over my life in some way. And I joined this weight loss app thing, and it did more than just saying hey, stop eating shitty food. It had this psychological component to it. And one of the things that it talked about was the locus of control. And what it says is you can either have a focus on that everything that happens to you is outside of your control, and things happen to you, you either have bad luck or good luck. And the other says that you actually have a lot of control over what you do and what happens in your life. And so, for example, if I put a YouTube video on YouTube and it doesn't do well, I can be well, fuck YouTube's stupid algorithm, that was a good video. Or I could be okay, what did I do? Let's figure that out. Let me look at the analytics, see what I can change, because I have the power to make a better video the next time. And this is where we get to the stupid AI part of the conversation. So you have to talk about it. So I can't control what the hell AI is what's going on with AI, what new advancements are out. I don't know what the hell Disney is going to do with Midjourney. I can't control that. But what I can control is how I react to any of this stuff and whether I feel negative or positive to anything that happens. So yeah, Google decided to come out with VO3, and thank God they added audio. Thank God for that. So this was a little fun thing we did at School of Motion with me and Will Smith eating spaghetti. I mean, that's gross, we're gonna get off that. But basically what AI is turning ideas to pixels, and can it do it faster? A lot of things that you can do now is like make little 3D assets of whatever you need. So that's kind of like how I frame things. I'm trying to be less anxious about this stuff. No one's using these raw results from AI right now, but there's a lot of ways that they could augment what they do, what we do. And like Substance Designer, text to texture, I'll use that crap all the time. Like Meshy AI, I can make a model because I suck at modeling, but then I could use it as an asset. This is stock footage generated on like Runway, I believe it is. And it was like, I need some cool blue flame thing. Instead of going to like some stock website, I can do it. So think of AI as like, I can make whatever stock thing I want at any given time. Because at the end of the day, it's about the artist and not the tools. And this is yelling at me, so I'm gonna wrap it up here soon. So at the end of the day, no one's made happier finding out something was made by a robot. All this stupid Ghibli AI stuff, no one cares. It had its week of fame, and that's about it. People crave human stories, the struggles, the journeys, and the why. When there's no why, no one cares. AI can be a shortcut, but it's not a shortcut to making anyone give a shit. So when you can create anything, what we have to say, what ideas and vision do you want to bring to the table? How can you help create something that will resonate with people and make them feel something? Because yes, we live in a world where it's dominated by AI, but we also live in that same world where a team of like 40 artists created an Oscar-winning movie using a tool that is available to everyone for free, Blender. And thing is that not everyone that has Blender is making an Oscar award-winning film. And why people give a shit about this movie and why it got an Oscar is because it made people feel something. Like that's his cat and his dog, like the director. That's his cat and his dog in there. And it was a story that was very personal to him. And you wanted to know about it. You wanted to know why. You wanted to know about his why. And it's got no dialogue in it either. So we're living in a day where barriers between idea and execution keep disappearing. So what story are you going to tell that only you can tell? Because you can only tell your story. You have a unique life that only you lived, no one else lived. You have a unique skill set that no one else has. You have unique creativity, and you have a unique story. And all those things are your superpowers. So all those things that were your weak points that you thought they were, they're actually your strengths if you lean into them. You lean in and invest in those skills. You develop your creativity. You develop your own voice, and you tell your story. So use your superpowers. Go tell the story only you can tell, preferably with a pug in it. And thank you very much.